Hey guys, welcome back to Project Bodybuilding. In today's video, we have a comparison to do, not pertaining with the Open Division nor the Classic Division. Today we've got a 212 comparison between Keone Pearson versus the Olympia 212 Division top 3 from last year. Of course, that means the 2022 top 3, which included Kamal Elgarni in 3rd, Angel Calderon in 2nd, and Sean Clarita, who obviously won the 212 category and is the reigning 2-time champ. That was last year's top 3. Keep in mind, Keone was 6th last year in that lineup, but we all know Keone's potential. He has some of the best genetics currently, perhaps some of the best of all time. His muscle bellies, his structure, everything really but his height is superb. And recently we've seen him finally begin to hone his potential and start to capitalize on it. He went to barely placing at the Olympia in 2021 to top 6 in 2022. And earlier this year at the Texas Pro, the version we will be using today, he brought his best package yet. So with that upwards trajectory and all that potential he has, the question on a lot of people's minds has become, can he be a Mr. Olympia contender? And I think a lot of people believe that he can be, it's just a matter of when. And that's the goal of the comparison today. We'll compare Keone's latest version to last year's top 3 and see how far off he is from that group. Before I start, I have to address a couple of things. Yes, Sean has a more recent version. He competed at the 2023 Arnold and placed 5th. The problem with using that version is the fact that there's no official photos from the Arnold. That's a whole other debacle I'm not going to get into, but I don't really feel bad about using this version either. Last year, Sean was at least 20 pounds under his weight cap, so no matter what version I use, it's going to be outdated by the time we get to the Olympia because he's always improving. Another big thing I want to address is the fact that Kamal won't even be at the Olympia this year. Kamal is sitting this one out in order to spend more time with his family. So let's not think of this so much as a head-to-head matchup between these 4 gentlemen. Let's think of it as how close was this new Keone to the last year's top 3. I think that's a lot more fair to these 3 guys and then also Keone, because at the end of the day, we don't know how anyone's going to look come show day. Anyway, I've gone on long enough. If you guys like these types of videos, go ahead and hit the like button and subscribe for more. Starting with, of course, the front double biceps pose, Keone actually starts strong and wins this first pose. Look, this is a structure pose. Besides the arms, that's the most important thing. The structure, the silhouette, the X-frame, etc. Keone actually has both elements. For starters, I'd say Keone maybe has some of the best arms on stage. At minimum, he's a close second to Sean. Sean's arms are harder and he has some hanging triceps and good peaks, but Keone is right there and he's got some of the best arms in the entire division. Crazy round, and they're huge. They just take up so much space on his upper arms. Sean may win the arms, but he doesn't have the structure, and really no one else does. Keone is a genetic freak, like I said earlier, and that is said because of his structure. He has the best X-frame on stage easily, and when his arms are so good, if not also the best on the stage, it's not hard to see why I'm giving him the first pose. Now going down the rungs, I think each guy has at least one major flaw in this pose. For second, I'm actually not giving it to Sean despite the praises I gave him for the arms. I'm actually going with Kamal. With these structure poses like the front double and front lat spread, Sean is going to be very weak. He's not that tall, obviously, and he has very narrow clavicles. Sean is complete, sure, but he shines more in other areas, not the front double where his poor structure is on display, and that is probably his worst area. Kamal doesn't have the best structure either. He's kind of lacking in taper, but with that midsection and the conditioning, he just looks polished. And his arms are pretty alright as well. For the last 2 guys, Sean and Angel, I'm not exactly excited to pick either of them for 3rd. I do like Sean more though. I'm kind of going against my own criteria as well. Angel has a great upper body structure, great taper, but the entire pose for me just looks off and he looks uncomfortable. I can't quite put my finger on it, but he kind of looks like a spider. I don't really know. Sean just looks better to me. I like basically every area on him more than Angel. I think his legs are better. I like the added detail. The lats are bigger and the arms are definitely better. I'm not going to try to defend this placing a whole lot. It's just the 2 bottom places after all for these 2, and really it's just coming down to my personal preference. So that's who I'm going with. Sean in 3rd, Angel in 4th. Going into the front lat spread, I was very surprised because I actually prefer Angel in this pose the most. Again, like the front double, he has a perfect V-shaped upper body. Now, he doesn't have the most lats. That would probably go to Kamal, but we'll get to him. But Angel does enough to create a really good taper. The other part I like about him is the thickness throughout the upper body. His chest is crazy in this shot. It's wildly thick and has all kinds of striations. The arms and delts are also adding some nice thickness to this shot for him. Now, although I like Angel the most in the shot, I'm going to place him in 2nd because I think Keone actually edges him out just a little bit objectively. Sure, he's not as dense in the pecs, but I actually prefer Keone's lower body more. He has more sweep and just better shape to his quads. But most importantly, he has more lats in the shot, consequently cutting him a better overall outline than Angel. This pose is all about lats and silhouette, and all the thickness in the chest doesn't pull enough weight for Angel to outrun Keone's superior structure. Now in 3rd, I'm actually going to put Kamal. This is a bit odd because he does have the biggest lats from the front, but his overall outline is nowhere near the other guys. I'll take a better silhouette with a little less lats over just pure lats any day of the week. And then in last place, we have Sean. It's those narrow clavicles that derails him for this entire pose. He can't open up as well, and the narrowness of the clavicles and his thicker waist diminish the taper he can manage to cobble together. For the side chest, I'm going to start with last place for this one, and unfortunately for Kamal, it's going to be him. His pecs are the weakest, and in this lineup, that seals the deal for him. His side leg is good, and overall the conditioning is good. It's just his flat, less developed pecs that are out of place for this lineup, so he's taking last. Now for the other three competitors, we have a battle. Everyone is so good I'm having trouble picking a winner, let alone placing all three of them. I am going to jump to the winner though, because out of all of them, I do like Sean's pose the most. I understand he's the most narrow guy in terms of the shoulder to shoulder ratio with the narrow clavicles and all, but he makes up for that by maxing out the frame he was given. I'm impressed by Angel and Keone's poses, but I am floored by Sean's. He honestly reminds me of a much smaller Ronnie Coleman in this pose. The way his pecs bunch up, but they're still so thick, he doesn't lose any size, all while showcasing an insane amount of detail, is just like Ronnie. The side leg is also crazy for Sean as well. Even from this angle, he still manages to bring lines in his quads. Really, the entire pose for him can be summed up in one word: gnarly. He's sporting better condition and more muscularity. He's got some dense, grainy muscle. This is his pose. Now, second and third place is a flip of a coin to me. On one hand, I love Keone's execution. I don't think you can get much better. He looks wide, he's keeping that midsection flexed, and has some good pecs and a good side leg. Angel beats him though in the side leg in both size and separation, and in terms of the pecs, although not as much as the side leg, he beats Keone there too. And that's what I'm going to reward today, the thickness and size. So I'm putting Angel in a very narrow second, and I'll put Keone in the third place slot. If Keone gets any thicker in the pecs though, this is going to be an absolutely insane shot for him. In the first back pose, we have a divide between half of the competitors. I think Kamal and Sean are leading the pack here, while Keone and Angel are kind of lagging behind. I do think Angel is the weakest though, so he's going to take last place. He has the most shallow back by far. His lower body is pretty good, but you just can't ignore the back, or maybe you can because there's not a whole lot going on there. Keone is very similar. He has a shallow lower back compared to Sean and Kamal, but he does have more details and even more width compared to Angel. Keone's lower body in terms of size is also much better than Angel's. Keone has better hams and adductors, but he doesn't beat Angel in condition, so maybe you can give that slight edge to Angel, but on the back alone, I have to put Keone over Angel. Now getting to the other two competitors, you can see we have a step up in quality. This may be a little controversial, but I think I like Kamal's back a bit better. I just like his jagged details more. Sean is right there though. He's wide, thick, and packs tons of details himself. I cannot get over Kamal's lower body though. He's riding the horse, as Milo Sarshev would say. Why the hell is he standing like that? His hamstrings and glutes are good body parts for him, but with him standing like that, it makes those hams and especially those adductors look pathetic. Sean has the hams and glutes too, and good quad sweep, but he actually looks thicker and doesn't have an over-exaggerated gap, diminishing those qualities in his legs. Now with that solid win in the lower body for Sean, and because Sean always brings a very good back, I gotta give him the entire pose here over Kamal. The rear lat spread is also Sean's pose. I'm not going to beat around the bush on this one. I think he's clearly in first. He's got great taper, but unlike the other competitors, when he actually spreads his wings, he doesn't lose detail. His back still looks insanely dense while having width and taper. The lower body's also the same story from the rear double. Not the biggest, but very balanced and maybe the most conditioned next to Angel. The other three guys are a tier below Sean. This one is honestly kind of tough. I think I like Angel the second best. He's pretty wide, but the deciding factor for him is the lower body and conditioning. He has extremely thin skin in the back and really the entire physique. His glutes are shredded and his hamstrings are peeled. I'm going to put Keone in third. He could have placed second with a little bit more width or conditioning, but he easily escapes fourth because I really don't like Kamal's pose. Again, with the legs, he's riding the horse, making for an abysmal showing in the lower body. The way he spreads his lats has always kind of bugged me as well. I can't deny he's in really good condition and probably has the best and lowest inserting lats, but I think they may be too good. He's just like an oval back there. I like to see taper too, but Kamal's lats are just as wide as his upper back. He kind of reminds me of Franco Colombo, but a lot worse. Some of you guys may like that look. I don't, so I'm putting him in fourth. For the side tricep, I'm again going to start with last place, and I have to go with Angel. Really, we're splitting hairs in this pose. I think everyone has great strengths. Likewise, Angel has a crazy side leg and a good tricep. It's the midsection that's letting him down. He's had a little bit of trouble all comparison keeping his stomach in, and he's doing a pretty good job here, but it's still just not enough. The obliques are not defined at all, and his stomach is a little distended, and this is a problem in a lineup of great midsections. Like I said, splitting hairs in this pose, but someone's got to be last. And third, I'm going with Kamal, and very narrowly I'm going to place Keone in second above him. Kamal's strength is obviously that midsection. It's the best on stage in this shot, and he's got it all. It's tight, no distension, and his obliques are diced and his abs are perfectly symmetrical. Keone's midsection is a little distended, like Angel's in the shot, but his obliques are a bit sharper and his abs a bit more defined. For Keone though, I do prefer his side leg and his tricep. Both are just bigger than Kamal's, it's as simple as that. Keone's bigger in these areas, and with that, yet again, he showcases more thickness from the side. Kamal may have an edge in the midsection and conditioning, but Keone is comparable in both regards while bringing a bigger tricep and more thickness. So by a fairly close margin, I'm again going with Keone in second over Kamal. That leaves Sean to be the winner of this pose. Sean showcases his freakiness and completeness yet again. He's got it all. A good tricep, a great side leg, a tight and detailed midsection, the thickness from the side, the fullness, and the best conditioning on stage. There isn't one thing he doesn't have, and in most instances, he's outright winning most areas. My eyes are just drawn to him. He's the most complete, and yet again bringing that freak factor, so he's my winner. Angel is once again the odd man out for this pose, securing another 4th place finish in the abs and thighs. Those abs and the slight stomach distension are major no-nos in this shot, and even though his quads are respectable, you just can't overlook those major flaws. I really debated these next two guys, and this is definitely going to ruffle some feathers, but I'm actually going with Kamal. Kamal has the best abs on stage, I have no problem admitting that, but he also has the weakest quads on stage. The other two guys I'm placing ahead of him, while they may not have the best abs on stage, they both have good midsections, but actually complete the pose with good thighs. That's why I gotta put the guy with the best abs so low. It's a pose with 2 body parts as the focus, and Kamal only has one of those body parts. His legs are very narrow and the weakest on the stage. Next, I'm going with Keone. We have some twisting shots from Keone and Sean, but I think Sean is doing better, so I'm putting Sean above Keone. I like Sean's abs more. I prefer his blocky and more deeply separated abs. For the quads, I think they're very close, but I do prefer Sean's slightly, just because they look bigger. They both have good separation and detail, both sporting some nice feathering, but somehow Sean has even more sweep in the shot. The icing on the cake for Sean in this pose is how thick he looks up top. This is a pose where you look at him and just wonder to yourself, where can he possibly add more muscle? Keone put up a good fight, but with better abs and quads, I gotta put Sean ahead and give him the pose. Finally, here in the most muscular, I again see a divide between half the competitors. In last place, I gotta put Kamal. Everyone in the shot looks great, even Kamal. I just want to see more muscle. It is the most muscular pose after all. Next, I'm going to put Keone. He's a lot more muscular than Kamal. I'd like to see some more detail though. He really just needs to be 5% sharper, and he can maybe move up into second in this pose because Keone does pack a lot of muscle on his frame. And this is where we move up a tier and kind of have a battle between these two in the middle. Sean is the most muscular individual. That's not really controversial. He's 5'2" and a little over 180 on stage. There's no denying that pound for pound, he's the most muscular, and we've seen his conditioning up until this point, and we see it here. He's got the muscularity and plenty of detail. The only problem is he's really unaesthetic in this pose. I get it, this pose is to reward the opposite. You have poses like the front double that reward the aesthetic guys, and the side poses and the most muscular pose reward the opposite type of physiques. But I still want to see some amount of symmetry and just pleasantness to look at. I think the waist kind of throws us off for him, and the narrow clavicles definitely detract from this pose. That's why I gotta put him in second, which I can't even believe I'm saying. And with that said, Angel ascends to first. He has a great amount of mass, and I really like his pose more than Sean. He has a lot of striation and other details going on in that upper body too. I think the lower body looks a little weak here, but it's still okay. Now Sean does have a couple of other variations, but I'm not going to go over every one of them, but that is taken into account in the back of my mind. So if you have Sean first in this pose, I completely understand. He's got detail and muscularity, so it's not hard to see why you'd pick him. I'm just liking Angel's pose more. And his surprising win rounds out this comparison. I gotta be honest, I don't feel too hot about this one at all. I thought my judging was kind of all over the place, but hey, let's take a look at the scores. If you don't know how I score comparisons like these ones with more than 2 competitors, I rank everyone in the poses from 1st to 4th, and that means after tallying up the scores at the end, the athlete with the lowest score wins. And here are the results. In 4th with 25 points was Kamal. Angel was in 3rd narrowly with 23 points. Making a little bit of a gap in the scoring, we had Keone in 2nd with 18 points, and no surprise, in 1st we had Sean with 15 points. That's my ranking, but what do you guys think? Well, I asked you guys, and I was actually quite surprised. The vast majority of participants in these polls I put out had Keone over a hypothetical matchup against Kamal, and roughly the same margin again had Keone over Angel. Now, I didn't ask you guys whether or not you had Sean or Keone placing in first, because come on guys. Quite frankly, I was astonished to see those poll results, and I was honestly quite surprised to see the results of my own comparison. Keone was only 3 points away from the champion, which in my opinion is a little too close. So what about the question I posed at the beginning of the video? How close is Keone to the top 3? Well, apparently pretty damn close. My comparison had him in second. The polls, you guys had him in second by default. I don't think he's quite there yet, however. Yes, despite my own results, I'm not too confident that he places top 2 just yet. I think Keone can absolutely place top 6 again, probably top 5 with his Texas Pro package. That's already an improvement on his placing last year, but what he needs most is better conditioning. That's really what separates him from placing higher. What I noticed the most in this comparison overall is Keone had the worst conditioning. It wasn't bad, but it was the worst out of these guys. The 212 class is some of the most conditioned guys because a lot of the guys have to cut a lot of weight, and the others that don't have to cut weight at least want to look comparable condition-wise. Keone needs to get peeled. If he can do that thing alone, I see a huge argument for top 3. As of right now, though, it should not be an overwhelming majority victory for him over Angel and Kamal at the Olympia. But is Keone close? Honestly, yes. He needs to tweak a couple of things, and he's knocking on the door of the top spots at the Olympia. And with that, I'm going to end the video here. If you guys like this video, hit that like button and don't forget to subscribe. Stay tuned for my Olympia watch party live streams all Olympia weekend, and the best way to know when I go live is to subscribe and turn on notifications. Thank you guys so much, and I'll see you guys in the next video.